Well, good morning, Buff Nation. Today we're going to talk Lady Buff Soccer with our head coach, Chad Webb. Seems like Chad has been with us forever and ever, and the reality is he can, and that's a very good thing. He'll be entering his 11th season as head coach of the West Texas A&M women's soccer program this fall. Under his direction, the Lady Buffs have won either the LSC regular season or the LSC tournament title 9 times since 1997. They've won both titles in 2001 and 2008. The Lady Buffs were the 2018 South Central Region champions. They've won 10 or more games in a season, 5 straight years, and Chad picked up his 100th victory as a head coach this past November. He was a 4-year letter winner for the Buffalo men's soccer program. Following his playing career with WT, he served as first a student assistant and then a graduate assistant for the Buffs and the Lady Buffs. He's a native of Lubbock, Texas. His soccer roots run deep. He holds a USSF Class A license. He's been active in the community as director of coaching for the Amarillo Lightning and enjoys developing youth soccer talent in the Texas Panhandle. He conducts many soccer camps and clinics throughout the area every year. And in 2002, he was named Coach of the Year for the North Texas State Soccer Association. He holds both his bachelor's and his master's degree from WT. I think one of the things that Chad is most proud of is that his wife, Joy, is probably as good or better a soccer player than what Chad was. Chad, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Same questions that we've been asking all the coaches to this point. Athletics is based so much on pre-planning and practice and preparation, and you're heading into a season where there's still a lot of unknowns regarding your schedule and possibly your roster.
Good morning to you too, Kent. When you introduce me like that, it makes me feel older than I realized I was, but
experienced.
Okay, whatever you say, like no hair that goes with it. Yeah, it's difficult to make a plan as far as a start date because the NCAA is considering shortening our season by a few games, and that decision hasn't been made. I know that our athletic director and our university has been kind of right out in the front of fighting that and making sure that our girls get the full 18 games of a regular season that they want. They don't want to lose opportunities to play. The other thing that could affect that is I guess the state of California just decided yesterday or 2 days ago that they're not going to play any fall sports. And so I don't know how closely tied some of those other states are, like Nevada and Colorado, that always seem to follow California's lead. None of those states would really affect us that much, except for Colorado, because we play quite a few Colorado schools on our schedule, and Colorado and Texas make up our region. Our region is, there's some New Mexico, but basically our region is made up of Colorado and Texas. So if the whole state of Colorado doesn't play, I'm not sure what that means for our season. But recruiting's the opposite. You can at this time of the year, you've seen everyone play except for you, Asha, if you're still here. But I hear great things about you from a very reliable source. She's got to still be here somewhere. I can't see everybody.
Yeah, I'm here.
There you are. Yeah. But since recruiting can be done on the phone and online, and me getting to watch players happened before everything got shut down, it was mostly just conversations and emails to add players to our team. We usually operate with somewhere around 25 girls on our team, and we could easily be around 35 this fall. So we're going to have the biggest roster we've ever had. So this shutdown hasn't really affected recruiting.
You mentioned Colorado schools and New Mexico schools. Those comprise the first 3 games out of the chute on your schedule. 2 of them on the road, 1 at home. And that's something that you really won't know probably until heading into August as to whether those games are going to fall into place.
Yeah, and that's the thing that makes the planning so difficult, is if we have those games, then we know when preseason is. And if we know when preseason is, we can start to make a plan as to when the girls should show up, because there's going to be a quarantine process for when they get here before we can start training. And if we lose some of those games, or if the NCAA mandates that we don't get to play all of our games, then that changes our start date, which changes preseason, which changes when they should show up and start their quarantine. So that's a little unknown, and but we're gonna get to play our games, even if it's a little less. So we don't know when exactly to plan to start, but we plan to have a really good team and make another run at a conference championship.
And I guess another change that you and your program have this year is the past few years you've had a person on the sideline with you, Kevin Driggs, who you have really respected and put a lot of faith in. He has moved on to take a head coaching job elsewhere in the conference. Where do you stand regarding an assistant?
Well, I was just in the process of opening up that position when everything shut down. So honestly, I'm nowhere with that process, which is all right.
And I know you went several years kind of doing it yourself, and having Kevin just made it easier. But you're fully capable of handling it on your own. Tell us a little bit about your roster and your team as we head into 2020.
Well, we're returning some really good players. I mean, if you follow us closely, there was a dip in our performance last year, and it was really difficult to put your finger on. And maybe some of the stuff I didn't figure out until after the season, and some conversations and some events where I'm like, that could have led to just a little bit of an issue. And I think that some of our players showed up full on the successes of 2018. And if you show up full and you're not hungry, then as talented as you are, you're not gonna accomplish the things you want to accomplish, because the difference between winning and losing is so small. I don't think people realize how small it is. My point to that was we have some very good players that are coming back that I don't think are full anymore. Hannah Kelly Lusk was an All-American in 2018, and she was the player of the year for our conference. And she'll play up front in the fall, and she'll score goals. We've got a center back, Cheyenne Orozco, who was a defensive player of the year for our conference in 2018. Both of those kids I just mentioned will be seniors for us and kind of lead our team, from different angles. Hannah plays up front, and Shasha plays in the back. We've got Emily Avila is playing more to like her ability level should allow her to, and she's making some real impact in the games last year. I had to play her at center back, but she really belongs in central midfield. So I think we've recruited quite a few center backs and defensive personalities. Make that move to put her into midfield. Whether we play with 5 in the back or 4 in the back, because we bounce back and forth. Some days we play 5 and some days we play 4. There's Autumn making some food if anybody wants to say hi to her and embarrass her. We've got Daniela Estrada, who I just found out was the WT Athletic Newcomer of the Year, or the newcomer, I think immediately. Her name's Reagan Heelan. 34 ACT, guys. That's an insane score, isn't it? 34 ACT. So she's no she's absolutely no dummy. She was thinking about coming here or to Yale or to Colorado School of Mines because she wants to be an engineer. But we found a way to get her here. So if she wins the job, you know, it's hers immediately. If Daniela wins the job, I think Reagan is set to be our goalkeeper for a few years after that, you know. You've got Asha, I'm looking at her face here. Asha is transferring from Florida International. She plays up front, you know, or maybe attacking midfield kind of a role. So hopefully she'll add some goals to us. And Coach Stewart is super pumped about the fact that I'm bringing Asha to WT because apparently she's one of the rare athletes that plays soccer and throws the javelin. And yeah, apparently this is what Coach Stewart told me. Apparently not many athletes just throw the javelin. And so he's telling me that all of his javelin throwers are part of his decathlon, you know, and they throw the javelin inside the decathlon, but then also individual. Florida International would win her. I mean, Allie's on this call. Allie's an attacking midfield personality from Friendship. So you said I grew up in Lubbock, so did Allie. We've got the list goes on and on, Kent. If you want me to keep going, I will.
Hey, it's your call. You know, the idea here is to talk Lady Buff soccer. And we know you've got not just an outstanding team on the field, but your girls are solid in the community. You know, we'll have you talk a little bit about some of your community awareness projects you do. You already mentioned a couple GPAs. You can talk about the girls in the classroom. This is your opportunity to brag about the Lady Buffs.
Well, I wasn't sure what this shutdown of the school and everybody going online would do to our academic performance, but we just got our grades yesterday or the day before, and the team GPA for the spring was a 3.53. So it was really good. We didn't quite reach our goal because our team goal for the year is a 3.4. And the fall was like a 3.29. And then you put this 3.53 on it and it turns into a 3.94. Hannah and Ncaa, I told you, are the leaders of our team. They think that I should round that up to a 3.4 and say that we met we were in all of our games last that close right now. So we didn't quite achieve our team GPA of 3.4, but I saw some reactions when I said 3.53. It's an impressive team GPA, you know, especially under unusual circumstances of having to go home and do it online. But I think it just shows the self-motivation that most of the players on our team have, you know, even with all this unusual stuff going on and they don't get to play soccer, they still take care of their business in the classroom, which is actually a higher priority than in soccer, you know.
Absolutely. As we move forward, anyone that has a question for Coach Webb, just wave your hand and wave, or you can type it on the chat on your sidebar and I can ask it of Chad. On Chad's end, what I'm going to ask is whenever your family fires up the microwave, we lose you.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's weird. Your house is wired strange here, but every time the microwave door closes, you freeze and we don't hear a thing you say.
Oh, hey, we're doing that. Are you done? Last time.
Moving forward here, Chad, you know, the season's right around the corner. You talked about the job your ladies had done at home in the classroom. How are you keeping them trained and fit for a season that's just 2.5 months away?
Well, That's where Coach Ramey works endless hours, with her multiple roles on campus. But she sends them emails of ways to work out creatively. So hopefully they're doing some of that. Like I said about them being self-motivated in the classroom. If they want to get back to championship form, which I know they do, then I know they're going to do that. If they want to play and there's 35 of them, that becomes a very competitive environment. Then I know they'll do it. But the problem is soccer is such a unique sport that real soccer fitness doesn't occur unless you're playing soccer. And that's just not possible right now. So I don't know what effects that's going to have whenever we can start playing again on the fitness level of the team. But at least it's a fair playing field. Everybody else is dealing with the same thing. So if our team was unable to remain at the level of fitness we desire, so is every other team, and we can catch up pretty quick once we get started.
Now, for the past 2 seasons, you've organized the ALS Awareness Game. Tell us kind of the reason behind that promotion as well as your involvement.
Well, my aunt was diagnosed with ALS. It was my dad's sister, and I really didn't know much about that disease. But when you watch it take over somebody's body, it's pretty bad. I went and saw her just a few days before she passed. And you can look, you can see a life and a soul inside her eyes, and then nothing about the body works. And it's just a terrible disease. But what occurred is the more she got sick, the more she couldn't talk, because the muscles around her throat were the first ones to quit working. So she could just text. And once she learned how to text, she was texting me all the time. How's your team doing? Did y'all win yesterday? So I got in the habit of texting her just as much information about WT soccer as I could. And she kind of, that relationship kind of prompted my dad's whole side of the family. I mean, they love me, but they've never really cared too much about soccer. And it kind of prompted them to all be soccer fans. So the relationship that I developed with her while she was sick, and her newfound interest and love in the WT women's soccer program, I thought that the best way that we could try to pay tribute to her is to organize an ALS awareness game. A game seems kind of trivial to say that a game is how you're going to represent somebody's life, but since soccer was what triggered mine and her relationship once she got sick to grow to where it did, then I thought maybe that's the best way for a guy like me to try to pay tribute to her. So we've tried to grow it the past couple years, and we'll do it again this year. I need to choose a game, but I want to make sure that our schedule doesn't change before I choose a game. We've got some red jerseys now that we wear that day, because there's 2 colors that represent ALS, and I don't know why there's 2, but there's red and white, and then there's blue. And 2 years ago, when we did this for the first time, we were playing Angelo State, and I said, "No way, we're wearing blue." And so we chose red to represent ALS instead of blue. We did win that game, by the way, and that won the Lone Star Conference Championship that year. So that was a good night. But what we try to do is we try to send out an email to campus and to anybody that's interested in WT athletics, and if that disease has affected somebody they love or somebody they know, and they want some recognition, Tyson puts a bunch of stuff about my aunt and about the others that would like some recognition on the scoreboard at halftime. It's a pretty cool, and we play my aunt's favorite song. It's called "I Can Only Imagine." So it's just my own little way to try to pay tribute to her, and then in turn anybody that's been affected by that disease. Because like I started when it's terrible to watch it just take over somebody's body. I contacted ALS Texas last year, and I tried to set up a walk. I thought maybe we could just walk around the track or walk around the Buffalo Sports Park, but it doesn't work. The only way you can have a walk is to have a chapter in your town, and Amarillo doesn't have one. They're only in Dallas and Houston. But that's what we do.
Well, a very worthwhile cause, and obviously you and the ladies do a great job of bringing awareness to the community at a game. You say it's trivial, a soccer game, but you know, you get BuffNation in the stands, and it helps spread the word.
Yep.
Chad, I'm gonna take this to one of your former players here. You've got one of the more laid back personalities, not just in the athletic department, but probably on campus. Marlene Van Murick is our female winner of the President's Award this year, which is the highest honor that we bestow upon a student athlete every year, selected by the university president, Dr. Walter Wendler. Marlene, you played for Chad for quite a while. Talk a little bit about what he's like in the clubhouse and on the field. Is it the same guy that we see right now or in the office?
I didn't leave for this.
I'll tell you one thing first, Kent. You will never see him in the office. We never see him in the office. So I don't know what he's like in the office.
Occasion.
Because I've walked past that door for years, and I think I caught him there twice. Yeah.
Those were the same days I found him.
Yeah. And you know, I actually work in the building, so I actually tour the building almost every single day. So, but no, Chad is very genuine. So everything he's doing and saying right now, that's just how he is through and through. I think that's one of the things that I enjoyed a lot as a player, that you can just count on him. And he's just like being Chad. I don't even know how to explain it, put it into words, to be honest. But he's just a huge like support to all the players, because we all need different things. I'm sure you could talk about that a lot more. But just like, he's just genuine, and he's just there for us with whatever we need. And I think that's why he said that a lot of players just have self-motivation, especially now with all this stuff going on. They all have to do their school at home, because we want to make him proud too. At least I think the majority wants to, just because he gives so much to us. So we want to give back to him by doing what we can and just like representing the program well.
Chad, Marlene just mentioned that different people need different things, and I've been told by coaches that coaching the women's sports is a challenge because their personalities are so different. Not in a bad way, but just it's a wide range. But yet your kids will run through a brick wall for you. They love playing for you. I know this is a tough question, but how do you manage to connect with them?
I don't know the answer to that. Well, I'm not sure they would all do that, first of all, but I get the majority of them would, yeah. I don't know. Marlene may have hit on it when she was talking. There's a bunch of them, but they're not all the same. They have different strengths and weaknesses. They have different, I mean, on the field, they have different strengths and weaknesses. They have off the field, they have different needs, things they need help with. And I guess if you, I don't know, man. I guess maybe if you try to treat them with respect and try to help them figure out the problems that they're working through and the things that they need, then maybe, I don't know, maybe they play harder without screaming at them. You know what I mean? I don't know the answer to that.
I think the answer is you're just being genuine.
Well, apparently that's what Marlene said. I don't know if she knows what she's talking about, though. She only had a 4.0 when she graduated.
I know you've got some incoming recruits on the Zoom right now. You've got some alum that have joined us as well. Do you want to talk about them and tell what they've meant to the program and possibly what they're doing now?
I mentioned Asha and Allie earlier. I'm trying to figure out how I get through all the images. Is that Duff? Yeah, it is. Well, Misty played for us. I don't even. She might have to tell us the years because they all start to blur together.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I played from 02 to 06.
I do have a photo in my office. She was only here one semester. Was it Macy?
Marcy, yep.
And y'all are all going like this. Do you remember that?
Did we? I don't know.
Because for your rings, because we
I was gonna say it was probably because of our rings. Yeah.
we just won back in Edmond. That was back when Central Oklahoma was in the conference. They're not in it anymore. Misty's moved back to Canyon now. Her husband is a football coach at the high school, right?
Yes. Sorry,
Yeah.
my neighbor just started mowing his lawn. I'm gonna have to step
Oh,
inside.
nice. I don't know. She'd have to tell all of us like what position he coaches or.
Well, we moved back about 3 years ago, and my husband's a defensive coordinator at Canyon High, and I teach 5th grade math at Canyon Intermediate. So
Nice.
back in the community, but
Yeah, and
Great.
and now she follows our program. In fact, we have like an alumni group messaging system, and I was trying to hide when we all were advertising all this stuff, and she's the one that put it in the group and told people to get on there. Marlene, you already spoke about. I guess she's alumni now. That's the only two I see right now.
Who has a question for Chad? Raise your hand and we'll get right to you. Breaking away just briefly here from the WT program, Chad, you were involved last year, and I believe you're going to this year, if it ever gets going, with an indoor soccer program in Amarillo. What can you tell us about that?
Well, that's an interesting project that I think is going to work. If you've never seen indoor soccer, it's a smaller version of soccer, basically in a hockey rink.
Yeah.
Balls bounce off the walls and they don't go out of bounds very often, and it's an extremely fast-paced, intense physical game. And that was pretty fun. The Premier League in the United States is called the MASL. It's the Major Arena Soccer League. And we were invited to participate in the second division of that league. So the MASL 2, and it's just short for M2. Sorry, they just call it M2, short for that. And that was pretty interesting. I learned, and the boys learned a lot, because the first 6 games we were 2-4, and then the last 7 games we were 5-2. So the last 6 games we were 5-1. So we kind of flipped that around and started beating actually some of the teams that had beat us earlier in the year. We were in 3rd going into the playoffs. We were going to play a team from Wichita, Kansas. They were going to be 2nd, and then the top team comes out of Mexico. They were great. They were from Chihuahua. So I don't know how we would have done in those playoffs because we didn't get to play them. But it's a pretty fun little side job.
And talk about your involvement in the world of club soccer, teaching the youngsters, all ages, but I know it's a very, very all-encompassing involvement that you have.
Well, I have a soccer club that currently has 16 youth teams in it. It looks like that might grow this coming fall. We just morphed or joined an international club called Rush. So now we're called Amarillo Rush. What are the benefits of joining a international club? I don't have my brain wrapped around that just yet, but yeah, we have 250 families in our organization. Now, it's really common to have siblings that both play, you know? So, sorry, we have 250 kids in our organization. I don't know how many families because we do have quite a few pair of siblings, but we just try to make soccer fun and educational and competitive, and if the kids can turn that into playing at a college level like what we started our conversation with here, great. Most of them don't, but if they can maybe learn some life lessons that sport will teach you if you will allow it to, maybe we're helping young people become better old people. I don't know. I like to think that sometimes.
All right, Chad, I believe Casey Lish has a question for you out here. Casey?
Hey, Chad. The
Casey.
question I had for you is, how do you handle dealing with coaching, like the men indoor and the women outdoor, like handle the personalities, and how you coach them differently based on that? Because I think you can get different things out of either sex, but how you go about doing that and being successful with both.
Those guys are older and they're at a different stage of life, but similar to what Marlene was talking about, they're still individuals with different strengths and weaknesses. And so if you can help them with whatever it is they need help with, then they'll play extremely hard too. I don't see a level in like desire to win being different. You know, the girls at WT want to win just as bad as the guys on the Bombers. Maybe one difference is you don't have to explain as much to the guys as you do the girls. The girls, they need more information, sometimes more information than I give them. I'm trying to get better at that. You can just tell the guys who's playing, who isn't playing, and who doesn't get to travel, and then that's the end of it. With the girls, you have to give them more information than that. You know, if they're not playing, you got to tell them why, and if you tell them why, they'll kill themselves trying to fix that. Stuff like that. So I hope that makes sense. That sometimes the girls need a little bit more information, but other than that, it's coaching soccer. Pretty much the same.
And back to coaching soccer and your program, Chad, you talked about the young ladies you've got coming back this year. What do you perceive as being the team's strengths as you head into 2020?
Team strengths?
Yeah, the strong points on your team.
Well, athleticism is always a strength of ours. You know, the ability to run, the ability to move. Mar laughed when I said that. The ability to keep the ball. If we get too specific in here, I'm not trying to act like you don't know what you're looking at, or that you do know what you're looking at. But I never know the level of soccer knowledge that I'm talking to. But when I mean keep the ball, like most of our opponents try to go one direction as fast as they can, which involves, just kicking the ball as far as you can and everybody run after it. And we call that direct. It's a very direct style of play. And we don't do that. I think we keep the ball and we pass the ball to each other, and maybe the best way to phrase it is we kind of make our way up the field methodically a little bit instead of just direct. That's been the strength of our team for the past few years, and I think it's going to be the same, Kent. We keep the ball better than most or all of our opponents. Does that always lead to winning? No, but that is the strength of our team and the identity of our team. And Kent, I think maybe the biggest strength of the team is just the girls that make it up. They're just I don't know, man. They're impressive. They're impressive young women.
Questions for Coach Webb? Paul Sweetgall, you're on.
Uh-oh.
What do you mean, uh-oh? Come on now.
Uh-oh.
They didn't do their practice logs, Chad.
Yeah, hello. Paul's
No, he's caught up, Marlene, believe it or not. Boy, amazing.
We didn't practice.
Yeah,
It's easy to keep up when we don't practice more.
Chad, with all the other activities that you're involved in, you and I have a common interest in Snack Pack for Kids. Can you just talk about how you got interested in that, how long you've been involved in it, and what your team does with that organization?
Okay. How we got involved in it is when my daughter was going to kindergarten, my wife thought that she should go to a full day kindergarten instead of a half day kindergarten. And Amarillo ISD is half day and CISD is full day. And she has the ability to transfer into CISD because she's one of the principals over at Randall High School, and she's actually the principal of the youth center, which that's a completely different animal there. But so we transferred Autumn into CISD in kindergarten, and one day the counselor just stopped me and asked me if I coached the women's soccer team and if I would help them with Snack Pack. And I said, sure, if you just tell me what that is. I didn't know what it was. And once they educated me on the fact that it's a way of sending some food home over the weekend to some kids, so some underprivileged kids that may not eat over the entire weekend. Yeah, what do you want me to do? And so my daughter, that's City View Elementary. It's a part of CISD, but it's not very far from my house, being that I live in Amarillo. My daughter just finished the 8th grade, so she's going to start high school in the fall. It's a little scary, huh? So we've been doing it for kindergarten to 8th grade is 8 years, I guess. So what we do is once a month, my job's easy. I just drive up to the school and I pick up all the empty totes. And then once a month on a Tuesday night, the whole team goes to the warehouse. It's kind of right off I-27, just north of McCormick. I know Paul knows where it is, but if the rest of you don't know, just giving you an idea of where we go. And then basically the whole team shows up and they they have like an assembly line of the different food and drinks that they send these kids home with over the weekend. And they fill sacks, and then they put 10 sacks in the tote, close the tote. And according to the lady that runs it, we're the fastest crew she's got. And I guess you can only imagine these young women and their competitiveness and their desire to help other people. They make it into a competition, and they knock out quite a few sacks in 30 minutes. Our time allotment is 30 minutes, but we're never there for 30 minutes because we're done with everything she wants us to do a lot faster than that. And then once they're full, I drive them over to City View and just put full ones in this storage room. I don't know what kids get them. That doesn't matter. So I'm just kind of the mule. I pick up empty totes and I take full ones. But I take 16 totes, and there's 10 bags in each tote. So, there's 160 bags for a month. There must be 40 kids on that at that school that benefit from that program, and helps them stay healthy, and they do better in school than if they were hungry. It's a good program, Paul, but you know that. And I assume we'll just do it, I don't know, forever.
Chad, we'll get back to soccer here. Lone Star Conference expanded double in size last year. How did that affect the competitiveness in women's soccer?
It affected the competitiveness dramatically, because Dallas Baptist is very good. They've been to the national tournament maybe the past 5 years. When we won a regional championship in 2018, that's the team we were playing. And we didn't actually beat them because the game went to overtime and it was still tied, and then we had penalties. So really, we only won that regional championship on penalties. Mar scored the last one. Cool video of that if you've never seen it. St. Edwards is a very good soccer team and a soccer school. So I was saddened to see that because of this shutdown, they cut their men's soccer program. I hope that doesn't, lead to more cuts at that school. I don't know. And I normally wouldn't mention Lubbock Christian, but they actually finished third this last year. So we had a disappointing season last year. I mentioned that already. I don't hide from it. I'll be the first one to tell you about it. But 1, 2, and 3 all came from the Heartland and joined the Lone Star Conference this year. So just based on those end of season results, you'd say that the competitive level raised dramatically. Now, when I told you that winning and losing is so close, man, I can remember vividly the moments that made impacts in those games, and why we didn't win them. So we're extremely close last year, and then this year will be a different deal. I can predict that already. But yeah, it changed the competitive level. It also changed the I don't know how I'm trying to say this. 2 years ago we played everybody twice, and playing somebody a second time allows some look at that beautiful girl, miss. Allows some coaching and some adapting to the next time you play them, and to just play everybody once is something that I myself am trying to get used to. So that changed the conference, but it changed the competitive aspect of it with Dallas Baptist, St. Edwards, and I guess I'll include Lubbock Christian too. Repeating myself, sorry.
See, I believe we've got a question out here. Is it Asha?
Yeah,
Go right ahead.
right, cool. I wanted to figure out how it is how it is what it takes to reach in like the knockout phase, like after you went, you see like LSU, not LSU, like Stanford still going on after November, still playing. Like what you think it will take for us to like reach into like the NCAA, sorry, that type of phase?
In Division II is
Yeah.
regionalized. You know what I mean by that, Aisha? Regionalized. There's 8 regions. There's 8 regions of the United States, and our region is Texas, New Mexico, and Colorado. So you have to be one of the best 6 teams in that region to go to the national tournament.
So yeah, I'd be in the top 6.
Yeah, you got to be in the top 6.
So that's how much like that is like 10 wins. How much those like how many like put in the perspective?
We had 10 wins last year. It'd be more like 14, 15.
Okay.
It'd be more like 14, 15. Mar, what was our record in 2018? You don't know? 15, 3, and 4? Something like that. Yeah, it's got to be like 15, actually. And that's what I was saying when we started. If the Colorado schools drop out of our schedule, I'm not exactly sure what that's going to do to our region. But the NCAA has committed to have postseason play, and the Lone Star Conference has committed to have postseason play. So there will be postseason play, and just like I told you over the phone, that is our intention to be in it. But that's how you do it, is one of the top 6 teams in each region. So it's a 48-team tournament, 8 regions, the top 6 of each go.
Okay, and you say postseason play, so that's like after the end of the season, you still have games?
Yes. Yes. At the end of our conference season, we have a conference tournament.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the conference tournament is the NCAA tournament.
And the conference tournament, that is like knockout?
Yes. Yes. You can play all the way into December.
Make sure you bring gloves and hats and I don't know, all sorts of things though, because those are the
I got
coolest
it, but
games
that's
we've
okay.
ever played, Chad. In 18,
Let's go.
in 18, we played some really, really cold games.
Yo,
Those are
me,
the
I
best
ain't
ones.
accustomed to that because where I'm from is just rain and sunshine. Cool.
It may be cold one day, it'll be 65 degrees the next, so it doesn't stick around. Chad, over
right.
the years that you've been head coach, is there a particular moment or team that stands out to you?
Oh, there's all kinds of moments. You're talking about like that win championships?
Well, it could be. It could be a particular play, a particular game, or it might have been something that happened off the field that affected a season that just has stuck with you as, that was good.
I can think of 2 moments in 2018, since that's been a while since we had won a regional championship, and they were both in penalties. So you're going to remember those because the situation is so stressful, when you start to get into those situations, and every kick is so important. I mentioned one, Mar scored after each team goes 5 kicks. If it's still tied, you go another. And if it's still tied, you go another, and so we were in the 6th kicker. So it was at the 5th, it was still tied. And then we had taken some notes on some of the other teams, because in soccer, if you take a penalty, you usually go the same way every time. I took all penalties for WT when I was playing, and I never went left, always to my right. And so I'm not saying every single player doesn't change, but most of them don't change. So we had taken some notes on some kids that had taken penalties for certain teams, and when we played Colorado Springs in the round of 16, we had a goalkeeper in 2018. Her name was Courtney Dipple, Blondie. Really miss her. Fantastic goalkeeper, man. The first two shooters had been shooters in the previous round, and so Courtney would look at me, and I told her which way to go, and we were right on the first two, and she saved both of them, and then but we had a couple miss also. So when it got down to the last one, I remember we were one ahead of them, and Courtney looked over at me. I just gave her that, and she made one of the most amazing saves I've ever seen. I still have video of it. So both of those rounds of penalties, I guess, are memorable to me because they just make me laugh, and we won a regional championship after that. That save was amazing. But then the next game, when it was a round of 8, got my rounds mixed up, didn't I? This would be the round of 16 because we lost in the round of 8. The referees chose to do the penalties on the far end of the field, and Courtney wasn't wearing her contacts. So instead of like just little points like this, I was on the sideline going like this, and their coaching staff could see me. And so on their first kicker, I was pointing like this. Courtney goes that way and makes a save. And then they started losing their minds. I think I really freaked them out, and I think we all freaked them out because, he's telling the goalkeeper which way to go. They know which way to go. And I don't know. It's kind of funny, but Marlene's winner, I remember that. I also remember in 2012, we won a Lone Star Conference tournament. It was in Canyon. It was against Incarnate Word. They're not in our conference anymore. In fact, they're Division I now. And we had an All-American front player. Her name was Leslie Briggs. And she showed up so sick. Went ahead and started her. Probably lasted 3-4 minutes. And she's throwing up. Second half, tried again. And I remember, sitting next to her on the bench for a little while with my arm around her. And I said, she said she's sorry she couldn't play. And I said, I'm sorry for you that you can't play. And the thing goes to overtime. And she looks at me and she goes, you need to put me in. I'm like, you want to go in? Sorry, something popped up on my screen. I don't know if y'all could see that too. And she says, she's the one that told me. She said, yeah, I need to go in. And 30 seconds into overtime, she's inside the penalty box scoring the winner. And in overtime, when you score, the game's just over. And everyone's celebrating, and she's just laying on all fours, just throwing up all over our newly surfaced field. I'll remember that. So, Kent, I got more, Kent, but I guess those two were actually things that I vividly remember because I don't know. In some ways, they're kind of funny. In some ways, they won championships. They just show some of the girls that played here.
Absolutely. And we could tell by your response that they were meaningful occurrences or happenstances. Our last question or our last topic is one that you just alluded to there, Chad, when you were talking about the new surface back in 2012. When you started coaching, you were on the grass out on the football practice fields with a Quonset hut as a it wasn't even your locker room. It was the football locker room. Your girls didn't have a locker room.
Right.
Talk about what you've got now. A couple years ago, you got the new locker rooms at the Bain Athletic Center, and then this past fall, prior to the 2019 season, you got a new playing surface.
And my emails from this week say that the training room is going to be finished by the fall also. So for our soccer program, we have everything in a centralized area right now. You know, the training room and the locker room and the weight room are all right there at Bain, and you simply walk across the sidewalk and you're on our field. And then how do you describe the quality of those facilities? I'm not sure, Kent. I think that you don't really understand the quality until you've been to as many other places as I have. And I don't know how to put that into words. Marlene's laughing because, you know, we were given a practice opportunity at St. Mary's, which is where Kevin is, since you mentioned him earlier. And we went out there. I had a plan to practice that day, and we couldn't even do it because the field was so bad. Now that's just one example, but our facilities are so nice, Kent. Like I said, I don't know how to put words in them, but it is an absolute pleasure to be able to play soccer and work with these young women that love soccer as much as I do in the facilities that the WT Athletic Department and the campus of WT have provided for us. I don't know how to phrase it other than that, man. Top class.
Well, Chad, it's this hour has gone quick, and it's been a lot of fun visiting with you and hearing your thoughts and comments, not only about your program, but your young ladies on and off the field. We appreciate you joining us today, and thanks for everything you've done.
Thanks, man.
Our next Coach's Zoom will be next Tuesday, May 19th, one of the upcoming seasons, volleyball. We're going to visit with Kendra Potts and talk Lady Buff volleyball. That'll be at 11:30 Tuesday. Again, thanks to Chad Webb and all the young ladies that joined us today. As always, stay safe, be smart, and above all, go Buffs.
Thanks,
Goodbye,
man.
everybody.